Joe Biden's campaign will soon raise its billionth dollar and has more than 2,000 staff across the country working to elect him president. But when he first ran for office nearly a half-century ago,
we had no money, we had no power, we knew no one in power. We didn't have a structured Democratic Party that was powerful. Joe was the first senator that he and I ever met.
Meet Valerie Biden Owens. She's not just the Democratic nominee's sister, but has managed every single one of his campaigns through his 2008 presidential bid.
I introduce you to my best friend in my life. She's been on my handlebars since she's been 3 years old, my sister Valerie Biden Owens.
I was his perpetual sidekick. From the time I was a little girl, wherever he went, he took me with him.
I think most Americans know what happens next. He's in Washington getting ready to set up his office, and there's a car accident. His wife tragically dies, his daughter. You become not just his sister, his campaign manager, but really his support system.
There was nothing heroic about that. It wasn't. It's exactly what my brothers would have done for me. The immediate time afterwards was like walking through molasses. And I watched my brother with such awe that he got up in the morning and put one foot in front of the other. But it wasn't, he was struggling for himself, but the greater thing was it was Bo and Hunt.
You were playing a leadership role in campaigns long before most women really were able to fill those roles.
I'm told I was the first woman, but I can't say that. You got to research it.
What have you seen in terms of how far women have come in politics to the point where your brother has chosen one to be his running mate, to be the vice president of the United States?
Well, I don't think it's a stretch for my brother. My brother's used to strong women. He said every successful man he knows has a strong woman in front of him, behind him, or beside him.
There was a lot of focus during the vice presidential vetting about the role that the family might play in that decision. Your brother, he doesn't hold grudges, as Jill wrote in her book, but she holds them for him.
Well, sometimes we have to do that. Look, my brother does not have a small bone in his body. I'm not making him a superhero. You know, he doesn't have to be any better. He's good enough as he is. You know, he's a regular guy. He's a decent man. Your brother has talked about how he knew getting into this race, running against President Trump, was going to be difficult on the family. I'm wondering, they have a new ad today that asks what happened to Joe.
Was totally different than he called it the.
As his sister, when you see those kinds of attacks on your brother, what does that make you think?
My brother, it's real simple. My brother stuttered. When he was a little boy, he couldn't string more than 3 words together at a time. But he was not going to be defined by a bully. And he built a backbone of steel, and he's not going to be defined by this bully.
I wonder where we started. When you ran his first county council race in 1970, did you ever think he'd get to this point, potentially be president of the United States? I didn't think in terms of president, truthfully, but I knew that he was going places. You know, there's no daylight between the private person and the public man. He says what he thinks. Makes him fun to cover.
He makes him fun to cover. He is the antithesis of Donald Trump. They have zero in common. Trump thinks everything's about him. This election is about restoring the soul of America and the character of America. My brother is the vehicle.
And Mike joins me now from Joe Biden's hometown of Wilmington, Delaware. Mike, great sit-down interview there. Tell us more about this unique bond between Joe Biden and his sister Valerie. They seem so incredibly close.
Yeah, that's right, Allison. I learned a long time ago when you cover Joe Biden, you're covering the whole family. He peppers all of his speeches with expressions from his parents, from his grandparents. But we saw, of course, last night from Dr. Jill Biden, her speech, of course, the role that tragedy has played in their family life. And that has only deepened the connections that you see among siblings there. As I mentioned, Valerie is not just his sister, but has run all of his campaigns. You know, she says that he's the one who could focus on the big picture while he handles while she handles the management of their campaigns. But when his first wife died, she moved in with Joe. She helped raise Bo and Hunter, his 2 boys, after that accident. And then, of course, when he married Jill Biden, she was there to welcome her and the family. And she continues to be one of the closest advisors to this day. And as you saw, she's very defensive of her brother, as you would expect. She talked about Trump as a bully, and she talked about whenever he was being bullied as a child, she wanted to go and fight the people who were doing that to her brother. That's something that still is the case here years and years later.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.